Good morning. This is Faith in Our Hometown, brought to you as a community service and sponsored by Mercy Hospital, Joplin. And now, here's your host, Father Jay Friedel.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to another Sunday morning, and welcome to another Sunday morning at Faith in Our Hometown. It's great that you joined us this morning. We're always happy when you do, and hopefully we're going to have a good conversation this morning about people who matter, and that's all of us here in the greater Joplin area. Some of those people who matter are sometimes the people who would otherwise fall through the cracks, sometimes are abused and neglected children right here in Jasper County. My guest this morning is going to be Debbie Kolkebeck, who's the Executive Director of the Jasper County Court-Appointed Special Advocates, or CASA as we're going to refer to it this morning. And we're going to be talking a little bit about this new group that is basically formed here in the greater Joplin area. We had a show a while back about some of the folks that were also doing this down in Newton County, but this group has just got formed up here, and I think their work is so important I wanted to kind of reintroduce the work of the group and what they do. So grab that cup of coffee, stick around. We'll be right back after this Mercy Minute.
You can't start living until you're healthy. My name is JT Amos. Basically, if there's food inside of this hospital, I'm responsible for it. At 332 pounds, I would always order the biggest meal so I could feel full at the end of it. Since I'm an executive chef, it's about my relationship with food. I'm gonna try that, and then I'm gonna try it again, and I'm gonna try it again, and I'm gonna try it again. Now I try it because it's part of the job, and then I let it go. I've always been a very physical person, never let my weight get in my way, but I would suffer the next day, and I would suffer that night because I'd be in just so much pain, my legs would hurt. Now I can do 2 or 3 days in a row and not really hurt. I play with my 5-year-old daughter, we go ride roller coasters, we go do things now. A journey is what it was. I chose Mercy for the bariatric surgery because I want somebody to be with me through a lifetime. So if I am going off the rails for them to go, JT, you need to come back up, look at what you're doing. And everything just goes into place. And it's truly, you're a better person.
Well, again, thanks for joining us for another Sunday morning here at Faith in Our Hometown. My guest this morning, Debbie Kolkebeck, who's the Executive Director of the Jasper County Court-Appointed Special Advocates. But that's probably the last time I want to say that for the most part during the show. Now it'll be CASA from here on out, which is great. Well, Debbie, welcome. Tell our viewers a little bit about yourself, and then we'll talk about CASA and what you guys do.
Sounds great. Well, they're kind of intertwined right now, myself and CASA. I live in Joplin and spent my business career here, and about 4 years ago I was looking for ways to give back and to do things in the community. So I've always kind of served on boards and been, that kind of governance, but I really wanted to do some hands-on giving back to the community. So I saw a commercial for CASA, and I volunteered at Newton County. Right. With the NUMAC program down there.
And then they got started, last year?
No, we're the new one. They've been about 10 or 15 years.
Okay, so they've been there that long.
Yeah, we're the new one.
You guys are the new ones.
We're the new one. So they were very helpful. So we were in this class, Lori Musser, another Joplin resident, and myself, were in the class together, and it kept weighing on us and bothering us that there wasn't a program for kids in Jasper County. So we started as we became CASAs, and we saw our kids. We saw those same kids were in Joplin. They're placed in Joplin. They were taken out of care in Newton County, but they were in Joplin. And our hearts just went out to it, and we knew we had to do this.
Yeah.
So
you saw a need and you went after it.
Went after it.
Good for you.
And really felt like it was the thing that we needed to do. I blame Aaron Brown at St.
God
Paul's.
Love him.
God love him, or blame him, or give him credit, or whatever. Because really, with
both.
Both, yeah, that's exactly right. With a call to be more active, we decided to go full time. And so I'm a full-time volunteer as the executive director. I've been working about 2.5 years, but we've actually only been training volunteers and assigning advocates to kids since January.
Okay.
So we are relatively new. We've had great support. We're part of the National CASA Association and the State CASA Association, and we've been training advocates here using that model and that curriculum. It's really proven in 49 states across the country to be an effective model. And we went out to the community and formed a steering committee to see whether it was needed here, and overwhelmingly all of our local stakeholders that deal with kids in the child welfare system said it was. Yeah. Our judges supported it, so we started it out. So we formed a board last year, and about a year ago, and so we started training. We have an office downtown, and we started training sessions in January. So we're currently serving about 30 kids in Joplin. We have about 15 volunteers taking care of serving 30 kids as advocates. and we'll be able to double that number right away. So our growth path is very great.
With new volunteers or with just this group?
No, new volunteers.
With new volunteers.
New
good.
volunteers.
Good,
We're
good,
always,
good.
and that's something I'd like to tell your listeners, is
Yeah.
we're always looking for volunteers.
Well, this is the place to tell them.
Who will be,
Yeah.
and particularly people who really have the heart for children. And have some concept of what these poor kids are going through. The children that we are appointed to serve, the court actually appoints us. You get an official court order to be the special advocate for that child.
So, just to give us a little bit of an idea of, okay, so when would you be called in as an advocate, as a special advocate? Because, our listeners are going, well, why does somebody need to, if they're already by the court system, why do they need somebody else to look after them?
Yeah, usually we come in pretty soon, in most cases, after the child's been removed from a dangerous situation or until things can be assessed. So we're appointed by the court soon to do that. We work as part of the team with the court, with the juvenile office, with Children's Division, and with the guardian ad litem. We are part of that core team that works on that child. The difference is that everyone is well-intentioned and great in the child welfare.
But they've all got their own jobs that they've got to do.
And a big caseload.
Yeah.
A big caseload. And so our volunteers, our advocates, we'll talk more about the training, but as soon as they are assigned to that child or that sibling group, if they were taken out of the home together, are their focus. They visit with everyone involved with that child's life. They review, with their court order, they review medical records, educational records, have access to everything about that child, talk to everyone there with the sole goal of finding out what is in the best interest of that child and then advocating for them in court. We do a written court report, we go to all the hearings. So our advocates, you said when would they be appointed? They are the constant through the child's time in the system. So a child that gets an advocate, that same advocate will stay matched with them and stay in their lives and be someone they see at least twice a month for the whole time they're in the system. And on average in Jasper County, our kids are, on average, 10 years old and stay in the foster care system for 2 years. So it's a really scary time for these kids, and they've got somebody there that they can count on, that they know is looking out really for them and that has taken the time to get to know everything about them.
Yeah, let me just ask this question, because again, people, I think our viewers will be saying, well, why do we need somebody special to look out for their needs if the system's there to look out for their needs?
And the system, if it was a perfect world, we wouldn't.
Okay,
but the system can be overburdened.
Right.
There can be turnover. You may have multiple caseworkers. You may have, on average, these kids will be in 3.4 foster homes. So there's not much continuity in the child's life. And like I said, and somebody that really has the time, the caseload for the guardian ad litems, the juvenile office, and children's division is quite high.
Right.
They have a lot of kids.
Well, and that's kind of what I was looking at, because really, it basically is just somebody who wants to look out for the kid.
It is.
And somebody who, gets a little bit of training so that they know what to look for and how to advocate,
Exactly.
Because, like, for example, right now, I even though I've worked with plenty of kids and I've had kids go through a system and all those kinds of things, I wouldn't necessarily know how to advocate because I wouldn't know what all the things were that would be possible.
That's really key to where the CASA comes in,
Right.
is to make sure the services that would benefit the child, whether it's therapy or their medical needs or educational needs, are being met. Because that's part of that the system is not really equipped to do, is to advocate for that kid, to make sure if they need summer school or credit recovery or they need tutoring or anything to get them caught up due to the moves between the homes, or they're experiencing a lot of trauma in their life that they have trouble processing, to make sure that those resources are getting to them. And that they just, as they move around, that there's a constant person watching out for them. Many of the kids have nobody.
Well, and then again, you don't necessarily have to do all of that stuff, but you're in the position to see it and to make sure that you connect them with whoever the right people are to be connected with.
Correct. And make sure it happens. So our advocates are really, really special people. Anyone can be an advocate that's over 21 years old and can pass a background check and doesn't have a current Jasper County foster case going. Anybody can be an advocate, but it's hard sometimes to go through the trauma that child's been through and to be there for them and to judge. One of the judges said recently, he swore a couple of advocates in, you'll see things that you never thought you'd see. And you'll be exposed to things that are concerning.
Share a little bit about that. I mean, so like, what are what are some of these kids dealing with theoretically?
Oh, it can be any number of things. It can be this week, I've seen a baby that had not had any medical care, had been just basically neglected, no vaccinations, underweight, was taken from a home. It can be a child that's basically his parents are lost to drugs and the child's on their own on the streets. You know?
Yeah.
It can be anything. It can be physical abuse. It can be sexual abuse. We've had all of those.
Yeah.
So, you know, in the perfect world, we wouldn't see any of that, but so many of the parents are facing so many problems between drugs and alcohol and grinding poverty and dysfunctional relationships that these kids just sometimes come out the losers, and the system takes them in, and we support the system and support the kid.
Yeah. And again, those are the kinds of things that, again, you wish you never saw.
Exactly.
You know, but every once in a while you see them, and I'm just glad that once you see them, when you see them, you're kind of compelled to do something.
Yeah, it's the least we can do for our kids, because they are our kids. They're just like our kids, in a tough spot.
Yeah. And I always say to my kids, especially the older ones of my kids, and I just say, I'm hoping that you guys can do a little bit better with this world than some of us have done. We haven't fixed it all. I sometimes wonder whether the world's in a better spot than it was than when I started to get kind of quote in charge of it. Yeah. And sometimes it bothers me because I'm not so sure that we're handing it on better than we found it.
All we can do is keep trying.
Oh, and we better keep trying because we really are. And I think that we just get so many messes in the society in which we live.
So there are so many factors between the mental health issues and everything else that we got to watch out for the kids.
So if you've got one of those hearts right there, and you've got you're one of those people that's feeling that tug right now as you're watching TV on a Sunday morning, that is just like, well, I want to help some of those kids. Give us a profile of somebody who would be a good person to do this, and then how would they get involved, perhaps?
Oh, I would love to talk about that. Someone that would like to. We have just a broad variety of backgrounds of people that are our CASAs and that are waiting to be CASAs. Retired educators, or school counselors or administrators are particularly well suited. They understand the childhood development and what's going on with the kids, and have seen those kids go through and know kind of what the impact of everything they're going through is having on the kids. So they are great advocates. We also have people that have been foster children themselves.
There you go.
And certainly can empathize with that.
The system. Yeah.
That's right. And I know that nobody was, and that's the main thing that we really strive to do, is make sure that someone's listening to the child and that the child's best interests are being taken care of and that we're their voice. So we get people that were foster parents that felt like the child didn't have a voice, or foster children who just say, I can understand what they're going through, and I think I can help them. I think I can listen.
Back.
Yeah. I want to give back and listen. So they're very good volunteers. We have people that just have a heart for kids, and they're not currently full-time parenting, and say, I think I could help this kid. And we do provide a lot of training. It's knowing the whole system is very difficult because it's a big complex. The child welfare system is very big.
So many pieces,
but
moving
there are,
parts.
Yeah, good laws that help us move kids through, and that's what we train on when we do our 30 hours of minimum of 30 hours of training before anybody works with a kid.
Well, I want to talk to you a little bit about that training in a minute.
Okay.
We're going to take a quick break here. But my guest this morning, again, Debbie Kolkebeck, who is the Executive Director for the Jasper County Court-Appointed Special Advocates, or CASA. So we are going to be right back after a real quick break. So don't go away and stay with us.
You're watching Faith in Our Hometown on KSN TV, brought to you as a community service and sponsored by Mercy Hospital, Joplin.
Well, Debbie Kolkebeck, thank you for joining us again this morning. And in your role as Executive Director for CASA, we were talking right before the break about the training that everybody goes through. So give our listeners a little bit of an idea of what's that 30 hours composed of.
We do 30 hours of classroom training, minimum 30 hours of classroom training with some homework.
Homework,
yes, indeed.
Okay.
Which is kind of what you're going to do. The homework's kind of thinking about your imaginary kids in the cases, like you're going to think about your real kids when you get them. So we do everything from learning the signs of abuse, to really looking at you can't judge the situation based on the lens that I live in. You have to learn to look at the lens of the family structure as it was.
I love the way you said that.
It's hugely impactful.
If the whole world could learn how to do that a whole lot better, we'd be a lot better off.
Yeah.
So I love that. I love the way you described that.
And we
Learning how to look at it from the lens of the people that you're going to try to deal with.
And we really look at the resources that the family has. We may look at them and say, oh my gosh, this is just not good. But you look at the resources they have, not the deficits. So we really focus on that and what levels of safety and physical needs in the home need to be met, and what the family is doing to fix themselves. We don't fix the family, they fix themselves, but we are there for support and to watch that and make sure it's happening. So we do 30 hours of training on that. A lot of time we spend is taking a case. So we do a lot of role playing and a lot of interviewing that you would do when you're going out to talk to someone about the kids. We do a lot of critical thinking of, well, the easy answer is this, but is that the right answer for the child? Is that the best interest for the child? Yeah, it'd be easy to take this baby and send them to a new forever home, but is that the right thing for this baby, or do they need to stay with their, we really try to be culturally and ethnically sensitive and do a lot of training about that, and talk about the attachment the child has with their family.
Right.
Every kid loves their mom and their dad. Yeah, so we do a lot of training on that, of not just looking at the obvious of, well, I'm going to put them over here because that's safe.
Yeah.
But to look at, see what is in the best interest of the child, which is a lot grayer than you would think it is when you start.
You know, and I love kind of the listening to you talk, because again, all this stuff is very nuanced.
Yeah, it is.
And it gets so difficult sometimes. Because I just know somebody would say, well, come in, they're just not doing that right. Just take that child away and do your thing. Yeah. I used to be on a permanency planning team way back when I was out in the middle of the state in Wayne County. It was the first time I ever served on a local committee or board to do some of those things with the DFS office there, and it was just very interesting to me, because I started to see things in a different way, because I realized how nuanced it was. Where some of these folks, now some of the folks, I had to vote from time to time to terminate somebody's parental rights, because I just didn't think they really had the best. But in some cases, it was just like they were kids themselves, and they were raising kids, and they needed support, and they needed help, and they needed training, and they needed other stuff. But when you see all the nuances, and it's just kind of like, well, okay, I don't want to just hand them back to you right now, because you're quite not ready for the big time.
And there's a lot of steps there that we can take in the meantime.
But we want you in the game. Can you stay in the game? Are you willing to learn?
Exactly.
Are you going to develop as a mom and dad? Can you do those things? And
just if there were black and white answers, we wouldn't need. This would be easy. We just pluck the kids and say, but it's not that way. And as a mother, I can put myself in that.
Sure.
If I found myself in the same addiction issues, I would want every chance in the world to try to get my child back, as long as that was for the best interest of my child. And we do see parents that say that. It's not, I know I can't take care of the kids, so they make the hard decision to do that. So it's tough.
And I just think it's one of those things, who would really want to take a child away from its mom or dad?
Exactly.
And who would ever want to take a mom or a dad away from their child, unless it was just absolutely what needed to happen?
Yeah, and there are physical abuse cases that we have to deal with as well.
Absolutely.
And those are very heartbreaking, and we, very delicate with the sexual abuse cases, but unfortunately, sometimes those happen, and those are hard, and we really work with our CASAs when they deal with something like that. It's a very special.
Well, and again, but you probably even start off on a few easier things first before you wind up on something like that. And I'm sure that you do that as an executive director, to just say, okay, let's go with some training wheels first before we suddenly just toss you out into the deep water.
And we do, and we talk to someone about if they've had abuse in their personal life or in their family, we make sure that we're not putting them in a situation that might be harmful or a trigger for them as well. So, like I said, there's a lot of nuance and a lot of humanness to this that it takes a special heart, I think, to be able to do the work.
Well, and I think that the other thing that, and I'd warn any of you that would be considering getting into this, and that would be the fact that it is going to break your heart.
Yeah.
There's just no doubt, because I know a lot of good people who work in the system who try to bring about more good than any, and try to do as little damage or harm as they can. But it's just really hard, because your heart gets broken all the time
So
when you're doing this kind of work.
We know going into this we can't save them all.
Yeah.
We know that they won't all have happy rainbow and unicorn, filled futures, but the children that do get to a better place or do get reunited or do get a change, really change their story. I think the whole system in CASA can change a child's story going forward, and that's huge. If you're a volunteer and you can be a part of that, that's why volunteers do it.
Yeah.
That's why volunteers do it.
Well, and that's why I'm sure your base of volunteers
Yes.
does a lot of those things because they really want to make the difference in those kids' lives.
Absolutely. They're willing to step out there and take some of that hard stuff that they
Yeah.
wouldn't be encountering otherwise to do that for a child.
So tell our viewers if they wanted to get involved and they wanted to volunteer, where would they? Who would they call? You?
Yes, they can do that. Or first, probably go to our website,
Okay, the website.
JASCOCASA.org.
So
JASCOCASA. JasperCountyCASA.org.
.org. So one more time, JAS for the Jasper, CO for county,
CASA.
and then CASA, court-appointed special advocate.
.org. Or just Google Jasper County CASA and it'll come up.
Or you go CASA for Jasper County. Yeah, it'll come up.
It'll come up on that. And then we have information on there. We have an application or send us a link for more information. And it has our phone number. Our phone number is 680-3250.
680-235-3250.
Yeah.
I'm usually smarter than this and write these down before we get going, but today I didn't. So there you have it. So there you go. There's my work for a Sunday morning. So 680-3250. And they can ask for you, or do you have a volunteer coordinator or something like
Yes,
that?
we have a couple of Josh and Lori in the office, or myself. Anybody that answers the phone can help them get
There you
started.
go.
Then
That's
we
the
come in and
important
we do about it. It's really important that the volunteers, before we start training, know what the expectations are and what they're getting into.
Oh yeah, because it's not for everybody, I'm sure.
It's not as easy as serving cookies, So we have them come in and spend about an hour. We do an interview just back and forth on what what the CASA will do, what their life story has been like, and how that'll fit in, and if the personality is a good fit to be advocating for a kid. And we really ask anyone that does this to be able to commit for a minimum of 2 years, because our kids are in care for 2 years. They're in state custody on average for 2 years, and we don't want to be yet another person that leaves or lets them down.
Like a revolving door.
Yeah, because we see our kids pretty frequently, and we'll try to build that trusted relationship where they share with us.
Yeah.
So you want to be consistent on that.
And long-term volunteers.
Long-term
At
volunteers.
least a couple years.
At least a couple years, and some people, and we're so new, we don't have long-term yet, but other people, have done it 10, 15 years, and seen the kids grow
Hopefully
and stay.
grow out of that system in so many ways.
And I know when I was a CASA in Newton County, I certainly saw happy endings and things that turn out, you don't know at the beginning how these are going to work out. You think you've got a solution, well, this is going to happen, and many times it does not.
Yeah.
As the real hard questions get asked and put together, then the situation turns out different, so it's fascinating to watch it.
Yeah.
And every single CASA goes, is the first thing they do after they get their court order is they see their kids, and every single one goes, they're beautiful, they're wonderful, they're amazing. Because these are kids.
Yeah, they're kids.
Yeah, they're kids.
And I think kids, if they're not messed with too much, usually are pretty much in that category.
Yeah, and these
of
kids
being amazing and wonderful and unique.
And that may not stick. You may see a lot of ugly stuff from these kids too, but we're there for them.
Yeah.
When others haven't been, so.
Sure. Well, I will tell you this. I know from experience and talking to people who watch the show that they love the stories. So why don't you tell me, we got about 2 minutes left, so why don't you tell me about your most rewarding experience thus far as a CASA?
Okay.
Yeah.
I can do that. It was probably my first case, actually, when I was in Newton County. And my first case was a little boy that was taken away from his mother due to a DWI. She was driving under the influence. They were at Mercy, and she was passed out and couldn't put anyone in charge of him. So the state took custody. Seemed simple enough. Mom had made a mistake. She would go back. He would go back with her. And as the story unfolded, once he came into care and he went to a foster home where he felt very safe, he started opening up about the abuse that had been going on in the home, things he was scared of. He actually had an autism diagnosis. He was a second grader. He couldn't read. He had an autism diagnosis. And as the foster care family and the CASA myself and Children's Division, we started talking to the teachers and the counselors. Couldn't find his school records. He had not been in school. He was supposedly a second grader. He couldn't read because he hadn't been in school.
Wow.
He had never had any kind of social interaction outside that abusive home. So the autism diagnosis was reassessed after he'd been in his foster home for about 6 months. That was removed. He was not autistic. He caught up in his reading level. He would tell me every time I would meet with him about his G-mom, his grandma that lived in Texas, and that's where he had spent the happiest times of his life. As he would tell me, the birds always sing, the sun always shines when I'm with G-mom. And his mother did not deal with her addiction issues. She consistently would not engage. It was heartbreaking for him because he loved his mom.
Yeah.
And he didn't want his mom hurt in any way.
But he managed to turn it around for him.
Yeah, and he is now in Texas with his G-mom and caught up in school and doing good, and I hope his mother is well too, but it's better for them probably not to be together at this point.
And those are the stories we kind of love to hear.
Yeah.
Again, my guest this morning, Debbie Kolkebeck, is the Executive Director for Jasper County CASA. We're going to be right back after this Mercy Minute.
It was silly to be so dreading it so much because it was really no big deal. There was no pain afterwards. I was really, really hungry, so I got to have whatever I wanted to have for lunch. But you know, the rest of the day I just slept, and there was no pain, and went to work the next day. Every day that I opened up my refrigerator and saw that referral on my refrigerator, I just dreaded having to go through it. And now I just kind of laugh about it because it was no big deal. And knowing it's behind me, I just don't have to worry about it. Well, my husband and I, we do a lot of riding, and we kind of cram everything into the weekends. But eventually, you know, we'd like to, once we retire, we want to be able to go on vacations on our bikes and go riding on weekends a lot more. So we have a lot to look forward to.
Well, again, my guest this morning was Debbie Kolkebeck, who is the Executive Director for the Jasper County CASA, or Court Appointed Special Advocates. Just got rolling now here in Jasper County. We've had a group down in Newton County for a long time, but now Jasper County has got their own group of Court Appointed Special Advocates. This group of people helps the kids who might otherwise fall through the cracks. Somebody who's appointed to do nothing else but to advocate for their needs. And within the large system that we have that tries to help kids, this group of people can help shepherd some of those kids to get the best help and to leverage that system as best as we possibly can. So my hat is off to them, and if anyone is interested, again, 680-3250 or jascocasa.org. They would love to hear from you if you've got a heart for helping kids. Again, thanks for joining us for another Sunday morning. Come back and join us again next week for Faith in Our Hometown.
Thanks for watching. Faith in Our Hometown can be seen Sunday mornings at 6:30 and 9 a.m. on KSN. Brought to you as a community service and sponsored by Mercy Hospital, Joplin.